brief myself, but I want to thank you for your leadership and your friendship. I want to thank you for working with me at Duke University for my wife. Appreciate that. I want to thank you for coming to my district to talk to business leaders and let them hear from the chairman. It meant a lot to me. I want to thank you for bringing your kids to the congressional baseball game, watching you play catch with them and showing them that there can be something bipartisan, even though we scored 31 runs on them this time. And then also I want to thank you in advance for buying your next car from me as you get out of politics. And then I'm reminded of a scripture in the Bible that reminds me of you. It's Luke 6:38. It says, "A good measure will be given to you, pressed down, shaken together, put into your lap. For the measure you give would be the measure you get back." You've given a lot. We appreciate it. Thank you. With that in mind, I'd like to say in recent years, artificial intelligence has grown and expanded into a technology that can revolutionize the landscape of financial services as we know it. AI in financial services enhances fraud detection, personalizes financial planning, automates customer support, and improves credit scoring and loan approvals through advanced data analysis and machine learning, among many other features. Congress must continue their understanding of how this technology can benefit consumers and build a solid foundation for future AI legislation so that it may continue to innovate and improve the financial services industry. So, Ms. Dixon, can you expand on how artificial intelligence has benefited the financial services industry, and what are some specific examples of these benefits?
Thank you so much for the question. Decentralized finance with AI-driven risk assessment is a really interesting and I think opportunistic tool that can be leveraged, because if you think about what's happening, AI is being used to analyze and to predict risk in decentralized finance platforms, and that's pretty huge because a lot of people get really worried about DeFi and about the fact that there's lots of folks that are coming into it and you might not know who's on the other side, but this actually helps a lot. A second one I'd say is smart contracts with AI for automated compliance and fraud prevention. So it's leveraging smart contracts, but it's also leveraging the AI component of it to enhance the smart contracts by automatically validating transactions and ensuring compliance with the regulatory requirements. So I think that's another really important piece. Blockchain-based identity verification with AI. That's huge, right? Because now we can actually see that this is where we get so worried about KYC, we get so worried about making sure that the financial infrastructure is intact. This can actually help us to be able to make sure that the person that's coming before us is the person that's coming before us. It's the real person. And then AI-based optimized blockchain trading and asset management. These are all tools that we're already seeing happen with respect to AI in the blockchain space and in fintech generally, and we think that it's a real boon to the industry.
Okay, thank you. There are many barriers for a business to enter the public markets, from rising costs to increased regulatory hurdles. Due to these challenges, the number of IPOs has dropped significantly since 2021. Instead of creating barriers to entry, we must create a more favorable environment for businesses to go public. By doing this, we can broaden access to diverse investment opportunities for everyday investors. So, Mr. Ward, could you elaborate on what you believe to be some of the biggest barriers for business that are stuck in the private markets and are looking to eventually go public?
Congressman, I think the regulatory requirements do provide a challenge for companies to go private to public. But I think one of the biggest challenges is the quarter-to-quarter cadence of public companies does make it challenging for companies that are not quite at scale, don't have that predictability, and aren't able to predict quarter to quarter how the business is going to perform, as well as if they have very complex business models that they haven't quite sorted out and have figured out a way to explain to investors. And I think that one of the charges I'll ask for is we should make it easier to go public, but we should also make it easier to stay private for companies that need to nurture in the private markets longer.
Okay, thank you. I've got a brief time, so Mr. Colai, quickly, what actions can Congress take to ensure entrepreneurs are able to raise money in the private markets in a more efficient manner?
I would say, thank you for the question. I would say the act that would help is, going back to what I said earlier, increasing the number of investors that can actually invest in private venture funds. If we can increase that further, because they're already accredited investors, they're already at quite a high threshold, by allowing more venture funds to raise for more investors, a lot more of that capital will make its way into startups. And eventually, to your earlier question of how can more companies go public, it actually creates the pipeline of companies that can eventually go public.
Thank you, and I yield my time back.
Gentleman yields his time back. Thank you for your comments, Mr. Williams. I appreciate it. And now we'll recognize the gentleman from New York, the former chair and the current